Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 233 and I'm Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today is Thursday, March 2nd. We are into March, which March 1st is the first day of meteorological spring. I'd like that to be noted. I'd like Mother Nature to take note of that because it's flippin' cold today. Hence, I'm wearing a sweater. I've hardly worn this sweater because it's so warm, and yet today it was cold enough for me to wear it. Anyway, I'll let you know. This is my stripy, no, it's my, yeah, stripy Francis is what I call it. It's Francis Revisited is the pattern. Who was it by? It is by Beth Silverman. Let me welcome a couple of people. We had Lisa from Colorado and Nikki from Oregon. Both introduce themselves in the welcome thread on the 90% Knitting Ravelry board. So hi to both of you. Thank you for doing that. As always, if you've never introduced yourself in that board, feel free. I would love to get to know you. And yeah, if you are a new viewer, thanks for checking the podcast out. If you've been around for ages or a while, thanks for coming back. It's a full episode, ladies and gents. I've got a lot to share with you today. Okay. Let's talk about knitting, okay? I have a very exciting FO to show you, a finished object. And it wasn't one that I expected to have done this week, but I picked it up. It's my hand spun shawl, okay? I don't know why I'm beating around the bush, like you really need the build up for it. And if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw pictures yesterday because I was very excited to have had it done. Anyway, back in February, I think it was like February 3rd, February 4th, beginning of February, I decided I was in the mood to knit a shawl and I wanted to use some of my hand spun, so I pulled out a couple balls because neither one was big enough to use on its own for a shawl, but they coordinated nicely, so I thought I'll make a shawl out of these. I just wanted to do something that was like no thinking, so I just used my default elongated triangular shawl pattern. That was what I was starting with, and that's where I, do increases on both ends and along the center spine, one on either side of the center. So 4 increases on the front, on the right side of the project, and then I only increase on the ends, either end on the wrong side. So it goes out more than becomes a, one of those triangly, those triangly triangles. Okay, yeah. I know there's a name for it. Is it a right triangle? I'm so sorry. I do know these things, but obviously I'm not thinking of them today. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just used that as a description for a triangle. Never mind. You know what I mean, hopefully. I'm really not that stupid, but anyway. Okay, so I cast it on using this yarn, which is yarn that I spun from a Sanguine Griffin bat, which that tells you how old that yarn was, or that fiber was, because Sanguine Griffin hasn't been Sanguine Griffin for several years now. She's Verdant Griffin. But it was a Sanguine Griffin bat, and it was merino, superwash merino, and silk. And it was in this beautiful blue and yellowy color, and there's some green in there. It's just lovely. But I only had about 200 yards of that. So I pulled this gold color out. I'm going to show you the whole thing in a second, but I pulled this orangey gold out, which was some Zarzulia's fibers. She does not dye anymore, but I had some of her fiber, and I had spun it up, and it's BFL, just BFL. And I only had about 143 yards of that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to use the Sanguine Griffin as the main color, and then I will do maybe some stripes or something with the other, and maybe do an edging with that. Well, as I went along, I mean, I only had part of the body, probably to about here, I would say like about here. This part of the body done when I abandoned it, because shortly after I started this one, I cast on the Find Your Fate, and I had that fantasy that I was going to get that done before my show last weekend, which didn't happen, but I will tell you something about that in a little bit. But anyway, this took a back seat because my shawl knitting time was going into the Find Your Fate instead of this. However, I I needed something to knit on one day up at the mountain house, and I don't know if I just didn't have other projects up there with me or what the deal was, but this was up there, and so I picked this up because Bill and I were probably sitting at the dinner table, and he was probably talking to me or whatever, and I just wanted something, again, easy and mindless that I didn't have to think about to knit on while we were sitting there. So I picked this up and started working on it again and remembered how much I love knitting these shawls. And I at that point, it was like, okay, I want to get this finished. And so I did. And this is what it looks like. And I absolutely love this shawl. Obviously, I did not end up just doing stripes. I ended up doing this crazy little slip stitch detail. And let me tell you right up front, I did no math on this shawl at all. Pretty much no math. I winged it the whole way. And it worked. That's the thing. Every once in a while, you get lucky. You know, try something just flying by the seat of your pants, and every once in a while, it works just perfectly. Okay, so what I ended up doing as I got down towards the end of this main color ball is I did a garter ridge. So that's just one garter ridge. And then I went back to the main color, and every so many stitches, I think it was approximately every 5 stitches, but that varied at the ends and around the middle, I slipped a stitch on that first row. And then knitting back on the wrong side, I slipped it again. And then for the next 2 rows, I still slipped it. So it got slipped 4 rows worth of length. That's a lot to slip 1 stitch. That's asking a lot from it. But this was a squishy and loose enough ply and soft enough yarn that it was fine doing that. It didn't put too much undue tension on the fabric doing that. So by the time I got to the 5th row that I was knitting, I knit into it, and look what happened. I love how it just opened those slip stitches up so dramatically. You don't always get that when you've only slipped it like 1 row. But with this heavier weight yarn and having slipped it so far, the tension just opened it up. So I've got all these cute little upside down V's that sort of look like bows or tassels or something. It was totally an unintentional design element, but I love it. I love how it turned out. So anyway, I did that twice. And obviously on the second one, I staggered the slip stitches to come between the ones on the first row. And then after I did the next 6 rows of the main color, all I had left was this, and this was about 4 yards, and it was not enough to do much of anything else with other than perhaps going across one more time. But that would have meant that I would have ended after a right side row, and I would have been starting my edging on a wrong side row, and I didn't want to do that because I knew how I wanted to do the edging, and so I just stopped. And so I have like 4 little yards left of the main color. So then I switched to the contrasting color and started doing the edging. I knew I wanted to do something that would carry this downward directional aspect that I was getting from those slip stitches. I wanted to carry that through the edging. Now, as you can see, you can really see that with those yarn over sections. They are not evenly spaced, mostly towards the end. And in the middle, they're a little off too, I think. Yeah, there's a big gap there between the center and then those first ones on either side. But it's fine. I don't care, because otherwise they're evenly spaced, and the fact that they're, they're more spread apart at the ends just doesn't bother me. What I ended up doing was 2 garter ridges, so 4 rows of stockinette, and then I started doing rather arbitrarily an arbitrary increment to do vertical double decreases with yarn overs on either side. So that's what we've got here. And it was funny, as I had this pinned out yesterday and blocking it, I noticed that I totally screwed up 2 of them. I think it's on the other end. Like, I did my first motif of that, and then as I went across, 2 of them got shifted. It's not super obvious. Matter of fact, I just had to look for it now. But it's there. It's a mistake. But I don't care. Again, I don't care. So anyway, you can see what they look like. Again, the vertical double decreases, which I always have to look up on YouTube how to do vertical double decreases because I always forget. And then just yarn overs on either side. And then in the center, I did a slip stitch right in the center the first time I was doing the slip stitch rows, and then the second one I did not. But then I did the, you know, the vertical double decrease yarn over doodad in the center as well, which I like how it looked. It sort of ended up looking like a medallion of sorts, which was not a plan. Again, now I have yarn sticking to my face. Wasn't a plan. It just worked out that way, and as I blocked it, I was able to sort of block it into that shape. I just love how it turned out. I did 2 more garter ridges at the end and then bound off as I was coming to the end of that ball. And look, this is what I had left. Seriously, a 1 at Yarn Chicken with a foot to go. Is that, I don't even know that. Yeah, that's about 12 inches. That was it. That was the only yarn I had left. I'm not even sure that I could have gotten I'm sure I could not have gotten a bind off out of this. So it worked. I was happy with it. I got it off the needles. I was so excited about this being done, and I loved how it looked that I couldn't wait to see it blocked. I immediately wove in my ends. I didn't cut them, but I wove them in, and I took them out to the kitchen sink and I soaked it, and then I spun it out and I blocked it on my bed yesterday. That's the nice thing about the fact that I live in 2 different houses, because I don't sleep here every night. I'm usually sleeping up at the mountain house. So my bed is now this giant blocking board, basically, most nights. I blocked it out and it was dry this morning, and you know me. If you've followed this podcast for a long time, you know I never block things immediately. I'm horrible about blocking because I hate blocking. But I could not wait to see this, and I'm just ecstatic with it. I don't know why, because it's not anything complicated, or it's not like, oh, I have to have this shawl for something. It's just, it's one of these projects that just tickles me how it turned out. And it turned out to be quite large, actually. It's not quite my wings. Well, yeah, it is my wingspan now that it's blocked. Wow. It's wider than I thought it was. I'll have to change that in my project page. So it's probably about 64 inches wide, because that's my wing. I'm 5'4", and they say your wingspan is approximately your same as your height. So it's probably about 64 inches wide, and it's 24 inches deep. And I mean, I can put it on, although this is not the sweater to be wearing it with, since it's got the cowl neck. But I mean, it's definitely big enough to wrap up in, and it's lovely. I'm just so happy with it, as you can tell, because I've been gushing about it for probably 10 minutes now. But yeah, I couldn't be happier with how this turned out. So yay. I was looking at it yesterday as it was pinned out, and I'm like, wow, I should really try to write this up as a pattern maybe. Please do not hold your breath on that, because if you think I'm bad at blocking things, I'm even worse at writing up patterns and getting them out. So let's move on. I did work on some other things, and let's talk about the Find Your Fade. I did get into the 4th color since you saw it last. And here is my 4th color. This is my Imagine colorway. And now this is on bounce. Remember, I'm alternating sparkly, non-sparkly in my segments here. And I have my needles rubber banded together, because even though I did not finish this, I took this to my show and I put it out on my table as a display sample, and it actually worked really well, because people came by and a large number of people were like, oh, Find Your Fade, you know. And actually it was super funny, because this one girl came in and she looked at her, she goes, you found it. And I had to think for a second, like, had I misplaced this project? And then I'm like, oh. So that was cute. But anyway, yeah, it ended up being a really good conversation starter with a lot of customers, having it there as a work in progress, because I could tell them about the construction and show them which colors, you know, the yarn that I had hanging on my display. I could show them which ones I used and which ones were coming up yet. And honestly, I'm not sure how much more yarn I sold that way, but I think I probably sold several copies of the pattern for for the designer. She probably had a whole bunch of sales that day, and she was probably like, wow. Although this is such a popular pattern, I'm sure that little blip probably didn't really phase her much. But anyway, I am in the 4th color, so I did the melt. Here's the melt section, and now I'm in just the stockinette section before I do the eyelets. I am past the point now. I'm not going to take these rubber bands off because it's getting big and I don't want to lose it off the needles. But I am at the point where I'm no longer increasing on both sides. So this side is now getting this straight edge to it, and then this side is still increasing, which is shifting the center line over. Now that's the illusion you get. The center line's really staying right where it was. There's just no more growth on the one side of it than there is on the other side. So anyway, I'm still enjoying it, but since I got through the show without having it finished and actually realizing that as an unfinished object it worked just as well, I've no longer felt the pressure to work on this every single day. So I've been enjoying the break from it and working on other things. So I'll get back to it though, because I do want the finished object. I really do. It's going to be a wonderfully large, yummy shawl. And a lot of people talked about the fact that they were already started. A couple people had already finished theirs, and everybody seems to love it. So it's a good project. So that was my one project. I also worked on the Mountain House winter socks, which they were a great project for me to work on during the show because I always take something that I can knit on. I'll tell you what though, the show was very busy all day. Like it was, and the last hour is usually like the really dead hour, and it wasn't even dead. It was, I mean, it was slower, but I did not get to pull my sock out to work on until that last hour. And then even then I didn't get a lot of time to work on it. But anyway, here it is. It has grown since you saw it last. I quit doing the ribbing right here between the brown and the gold stripe, and so I'm on the foot section now, which I think I'm probably very close to, let me get a ruler. Oh wait, here's a little ruler. I'm probably very close to where I need to be to start the toe. Let me see. Yeah, probably about one more stripe and I can start the toe. So that's cool. I haven't decided what I'm doing for the toe yet though. I would like to do a semi-solid for the heel, and I'm probably going to do this earthenware red. I'm not sure whether I want to do the earthenware red for the toe as well, or if I just want to do the toe and the striping and then just have the heel contrast. I haven't decided that yet, so I need to make that choice soon, obviously. But this is still the first sock. And this is on my bounce base in the Mountain House winter colorway. So that was a popular colorway at the show, actually. I sold a good bit of that. Alrighty, so that's one project. Let me get all of the strands in the bag here. Okay, what else did I work on? I worked on, oh, here's another one. This is another one that's been sitting aside for a while. I'm trying to think when I started this. I think I started this last summer. This is my Pixel Rise socks. Yeah, I started this back in August. Huh, interesting. So I started that right before my wedding. How interesting. I may have started that so I had something to knit on in the car. That would have been good car knitting, I guess. I don't know. At any rate, it's been an on-again, off-again project. I haven't been working a whole lot on it, but if you remember, my holdup was I didn't know what to do with the foot because I did not want to do this color work through the foot, which is how the pattern's written. So I decided to just do this searing pink, the fuchsia for the foot, and so that's what I did. Over the last couple of days I finished the foot part, and this morning I did this toe. Actually, I started it last evening. And so the only other thing I have left to do, I will put in an afterthought heel, and I'm trying to remain in sequence. So this purple here, which is showing more blue on the screen, this turquoise green color comes next, and then this blue comes after that. So I think I'm going to do the heel in the turquoise green, And then here's the blue for the toe. Although I really love this bright, bright green, but I don't know that I want it for the heel since it's right here. It's so close. I may do the purple instead. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about that too. Or I could do both the heel and the toe in this blue. I've got plenty of it. Stay tuned. I don't know. I probably won't do I won't do the heel until I've got both socks done at this point. Here is the second sock which I started, and no, I'm not knitting it on double points. I had to knit something else real quick this morning, and I was up at the mountain house, and I went into my needle stash up there, and do you think I had any more sock needles? No. Like, I don't know what happens to them all, because I know I don't have that many pairs of socks on the go right now, but they must all be here someplace. So I slipped this off of the needles that it was on and just put them on these two DPNs, which are actually larger than they should be to be in these stitches, but it was all I had, so made it work. But I have the cuff done, the ribbing. So I'm actually ready to go into the color work now once I put this back on regular needles. But the item that I started using these needles, I will show you a little bit later. Anyway, this is the Pixel Rise Socks pattern by Kemper Ray, and I'm knitting it. The pink, the searing, eye searing pink, that fuchsia, is my bounce base, and the other colors were a mini kit or a mini set that I got from Knitty and Color, which I used for my lefty shawlette, and I had lots left over, so I'm using them for these socks too. And I'm probably still going to have some left over, and at that point they'll probably just go into my granny stripes blanket, and I'll be done with them finally. It's like the yarn that never ends, which is fun because I love the colors. They're fabulous colors. Anyway, all right, so that is the Pixel Rise socks. I did have, excuse me, I had very minimal progress on my Patton's Croy sock and on my Hoodwink sock and on the Granny Stripes blanket. I did a little bit of work on each of those, but not nearly enough to bother showing you, and so you'll see them another time. I did, however, do some spinning, and I don't have it here to show you because the first bobbin is not done. Let's see if I can come up with a picture to show you, though. And if I'll insert a picture here. That might be easier. It's actually the first half of the yarn that was the fiber that was a prize for the January KAL, the January part of the year-long KAL that we're doing, the year in the life of a knitter. And Wendy was the winner, and one of the winners, and she chose the BFL and Tussa Silk fiber that I was offering as one of the prizes in the Fire colorway. She is not a spinner, so she asked that I spin that, and so I had extra bobbins, so on my Traveler I started spinning it, and I will insert a picture if I haven't already. I'm fractal spinning it, so I split the braid in half long ways. The one half of that I will just spin straight down. The other half, which is what I'm working on right now, is the one that I stripped into 4 more narrow strips, and I'm spinning those end to end, and it's turning out great. I love spinning the BFL silk. It's a really lovely fiber to spin. So anyway, hopefully I can move that along because I want to get her prize to her soon. So that was my spinning. So speaking of a year in the life of a knitter, KAL, we now have another month under our belt. February is over, and we had exactly 200 posts in February in the winter quarter thread. 24 of them were mine, so there was actually 176 from you guys, and that means that I get to offer you 3 prizes this month, or we will have 3 prize winners because I'm doing 1 prize for every 50 entries, every 50 posts into the winter quarter thread. So, and this is just from the February posts, though. We're not doing the January ones. Once I do the quarterly drawings, the prize drawing, that will be from the whole quarter. So, but this is just from February. So let me show you the prizes that I have for February, because I do not believe I've gotten to show these to you yet. So let me grab them. So again, there's going to be 3 prize winners, but I'm offering 4 prizes, which means if you're one of the winners, you need to PM me on Ravelry as soon as you know, and let me know what your first, second, third, and fourth choice prize is out of these 4 prizes. And whichever one is the highest in your list that is still available when I hear from you, that will be the one that you will get. Again, first come, first serve, so it behooves you to get in touch with me as soon as you can. Okay, so the 4 prizes that are up for grabs this month. I have a skein of my Sunshine base, which again is a discontinued base. I just discontinued it recently, but I still have some yarn in that base that was in my show stash, so I'm using that as prizes right now. So this is Atomic Nebula. You may have seen this before because I've used this as prizes for other things. For whatever reason, I had a ton of Atomic Nebula. I don't know why I dyed so much of it, but I did. Anyway, so a skein of Atomic Nebula on Sunshine, which is a fingering weight yarn. Then I have Winter Frolic, which was one of my new winter colorways this year, which is also, it's a variegated, and it is on my Cozy base, so that's a worsted weight. I think I just, oh yeah, I dropped yarn. Okay. Then I have a fiber option this month as well. This is fiber from my stash, and this is from Tempted Hand Painted Yarns and Fibers. That's Stacy. I've been in several of her clubs, and I have a lot of stuff from her, which I love her stuff, but I'm probably never going to get to use it, so I would love to have it, you know, have a good home. But this is, let's see, this is Superfine Merino Roving. It's not superwash. Look at the colors, though. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, my gosh. Stacy is an excellent dyer. I love her work. And it is a gradient. So it's one end is this blue, and it goes through the blue into the purple, into this raspberry kind of color, and then into this light purplish blue. And it is called, I think it's Summer Noir. It's very hard for me to, I'm not sure what that second one, but I think it's Noir. So Summer Noir. Anyway, so this fiber from Tempted is one of the prizes. And again, if you like the fiber and the colors, but you're not a spinner and you would like me to spin it for you, I will be happy to do that. Or if you are a spinner and you want to spin it yourself, that's totally fine too. Okay, and lastly, the other prize is going to be a little project bag from the Loopy U. Funny story behind this is I actually bought this to have as a prize for you guys, just for a drawing at some point. I bought it ages ago and then promptly forgot about it. So this prize includes the little Loopy U drawstring bag with the cute little, I love the logo. The Loopy U's logo is adorable. And this is machine embroidered on here. It's not a decal. It's really well done. And so is the print. It's all machine done. And a Loopy U needle gauge. So those 2 items will be a prize option. So 4 prizes. Again, real quick. Fingering weight, Atomic Nebula. Worsted weight, Winter Frolic. Tempted fiber, Superfine Merino. Or the Loopy U bag and needle gauge. Okay, so those are the prizes. So now let me announce the winners. Again, I did random number generator through the increments. It was posts 234 through posts 434, and I did land on myself several times, of course, so I just kept drawing until I got 3 other people. So the first prize winner is number 279, post 279, and that was Bead Weasel, Sheila. So Sheila, congratulations. When you see this, please PM me. Let me know the order of your prize choices, and I'll let you know which one is available. The second prize winner is post number 285, and that's Playin' with Needles, who is Jen. So Jen, if when you hear this, again, please PM me. Let me know which of those prizes you would like in which order of the 4. And lastly is post number 347, who is, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pronounce this right. And I may have actually written it wrong. Let me get to this page. Your name is Alyssa. Elisa. Gosh, I can't pronounce anything today, can I? But I think it's Sensei, but I think I spelled it wrong, which is why I'm questioning myself at the moment. But let me get to post number 347. I know you can check this yourself, but I'm trying to make life easy. I'm failing, but I'm trying. Post number 347. Yes, Senseidai. Senseidai. And again, it's Elisa. Elisa from New York. So if that is you, please PM me with your prize choice in the order that you would like them from what I just showed. So thank you to everybody who participated again this month. We've had wonderful participation both months so far. And, you know, February was a short month, so that's sort of exciting. We are in March now, so keep going. I do have one more February prize to award, though, and that was for the February challenge, which was the Keep It Short challenge. You were to knit something it had to be no more than 100 yards, and it needed to be worsted or Aran weight, which was our focus yarn for the month. And I did that drawing as well, and the winner of that is Belle's Nana, who is Lisa. So congratulations, Lisa. I know you've been a winner before on the podcast, so yay, congratulations. And your prize for the Keep It Short challenge is, appropriately enough, a set of mini skeins. They are semi-solid minis. So these 4 little minis will be coming to you as soon as I hear from you and you let me know that you won, and or that you know that you won. I know you won, but I need to know you know that you won. And please send me your mailing information. I know I have it from a recent win that you had, but it would just be way easier if you sent it to me again because I'm not that organized. Okay, so that's February. February's over and done. We're moving into March, and we're still in the winter season. It's our last month in the winter season, even though I want it to be spring. But we're in the last month of winter, so that's still our season. Our themes are still warmth, coziness, and home. This month's yarn focus is DK weight yarn. So we're continuing on down the thickness scale. Sorry, that word just wasn't coming to me. Okay, so again, the DK weight is just a suggestion. You do not have to knit with DK for the general knit along. Please continue to post conversation. There's been so much chatter in this thread. I love that there's so much chatter. I am trying to be good about at least checking in once a week. I can't get there every day, but I'm trying to be in there and chattering with you guys too. Post your in-progress pictures, post your finished object pictures, whatever. They're all considered entries for the general monthly drawings and eventually the quarterly and year-end drawings as well. But the DK, again, for that part of it, DK is not a requirement. March challenge, however, it is part of that. So let me tell you about the March challenge. This is going to go for the entire month of March. So starting yesterday and ending on the 31st. The challenge is called Go Green. Since we've got St. Patrick's Day this month, I thought that would be a really good topic for our challenge this month. And there are some actual rules to this challenge that have to be followed. First of all, whatever you knit, or it can be any of the crafts basically that we're using in this knit along. Although sewing would be hard because this is based on yardage. So probably anything that yeah, I'm sorry, sewing will not qualify for the challenge. We haven't had a whole lot of sewing projects anyway, so I don't think that's going to be too much of a hardship. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, okay, your project must have been knit in March completely. Started in March, finished in March to qualify for the March challenge. It must contain green, okay? It does not have to be all green, but it needs to contain some visibly obvious green in the project, okay? So whether that's, you know, a green stripe if you're using a self-striping yarn, or if it's a variegated yarn and has green pops in it, as long as we don't have to search and like say, where's the green? Oh, that one little stitch? No, that won't work. You can't like just seam with green yarn. There has to be obvious green in it. You must use at least 100 yards for the whole project, okay? No less than 100. Anything over 100, though, qualifies. If you meet those criteria, started and finished in March, has green in it, and is at least 100 yards, then post your finished object. These have to be finished objects, by the way. And that is one entry. If you used Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn and it has green in it and you used at least 100 yards, you can post it twice. So that gives you 2 entries, and literally post the same exact thing twice. Okay, so that I know. And in the first entry, or in the second entry, point out that it's Fiber Nymph Dye Works. And then if you use DK weight yarn as well, or also, that's another entry. So if you've met the basic criteria and it's Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn, that's 2 entries. If you've met the basic criteria and it's DK weight yarn, that's also 2 entries. If it's meeting the basic criteria and it's Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn and it's DK weight, that's 3 entries. So you won't be able to get any more than 3 entries for any one item. But that's how that's going to work. So I'm going to start a March challenge thread, and I will explain all of that. I feel like I made that sound very complicated. This was supposed to be the knit along that wasn't going to be complicated, but apparently I'm unable to do things that aren't complicated, and that's why the challenges are apparently going to be complicated. Go figure. But anyway, that will be March for us, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys knit up. If you have any questions about any of that, please ask it in the main knit along thread, or in this episode thread even. That would be fine. But the March challenge thread is going to just be for finished objects. It's a no chatter thread. Okay. So, moving on. Speaking of questions, my do you have any questions thread has sort of been languishing for a while, but a few weeks ago I realized somebody did post a question, and I meant to answer it on the last podcast and totally forgot, and I apologize for that. The question was from Gwen, who is Gigi of 6, and she was asking about my wedding skirt. You can go to my project pages, and from last year it's the blue lacy kind of skirt that I knit for my wedding, to wear for my wedding. She had 2 questions, and I'm paraphrasing them here. The first question was, why did I decide not to follow the pattern that I had originally purchased that I was going to use? And the other one is about what yarns to stay away from, because she was worried about, yarns stretching and things like that. So let me go to my project page. That would be a good place to start. The pattern that I initially was going to use was the Paint Chip Skirt by Jill Stover. I bought it. I bought it because it's a paid pattern. I bought it, I downloaded it. I ended up using it just as a guideline, mostly for how to do increases, like where I would need to do increases in the skirt and everything. Why I chose not to follow it, mostly because the one that I saw online that I really liked was not available. She has a second one that is available, but it's not the exact same stitch patterns, and I didn't like the ones that were in the one that was available as much as the first one that I saw. So I decided to just abandon the pattern pretty much and insert my own stitch patterns, which worked out really well. I don't have a fear of doing that kind of thing with patterns, so it wasn't a big deal for me. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to start with small motifs and have them get bigger as they went down the skirt. And so that's what I did. I was talking about my wedding skirt. I think I've finished talking about the pattern part. Let me answer the part of the question about the yarn. I knew what kind of yarn I wanted to use. I was getting married in August in Florida, so I knew I was not going to use wool. So I wanted to use a plant-based yarn because that would technically be a little lighter and less warm. I chose Elspeth Levold Hempathy, which is a cotton and hemp and rayon blend. And I knew that it was not going to have memory just by its very nature of the fibers. I would say if you're knitting this skirt, choose the yarn that makes you happy and work with it accordingly. Since I knew that this was not going to be a yarn that would have memory or elasticity to it, as I knit the skirt, I basically took that into consideration with regard to length. I tried to knit it a little shorter than I ultimately wanted it to be to accommodate that the growth that I knew was going to happen. It actually, what I should have done and what I would recommend you doing if you are using a yarn that does not have memory to it, basically a non-wool yarn, would be to swatch, you know, swatch in the round, like maybe on a 16-inch circular needle, do enough inches, like maybe 6 inches, and then measure it, see what you've got in length, and then, you know, soak it and block it, and then see how much it grew. Interestingly enough, however, my growth that I found with that skirt was not so much length from the yarn, but it opened up width-wise from all the lace motifs. So it was definitely a little fuller than it needed to be. I was making a petticoat to go underneath it though, so that sort of helped mitigate that issue. But that was more of an issue for me than the growth lengthwise. But again, swatching is probably your best bet, and maybe erring on the side of, you know, making it a little shorter than you ultimately want it to be, because, you know, those are heavy yarns. You know, plant-based yarns tend to be fairly heavy once you get that much of them there, and they are going to grow. So I hope that answers your questions. None of, I know my answers aren't super technical or anything, but that's what worked for me for the skirt. So anyway, let's move on. I received some more of my mini swap packages in the mail this week. This week I got some from Bettina, Molly, Christina, Tommy, and Nana. So thank you guys so much for your yarn that you sent me and any goodies that you included. I've thanked everybody personally, you know, individually already, but I'm having so much fun with this swap. I think maybe I only have one more coming. So the fun is coming to an end, but I might do it again some other day. I don't know, some other time. It was a lot of fun to do, but I am definitely set for minis for a while. I can say that because that's essentially like including the section of yarn that I had left over from the skeins I sent out. You know, that's like 10 skeins of yarn that I now have in mini form waiting to be used. In addition to the minis, I did get a couple things at Indie Knit and Spin, which was the show that I vended at this past weekend. I don't always buy a lot at shows because I don't really need a lot, but Indie always has vendors that I love, and I can't help myself. So being the February show is actually funny because there were a few vendors that I was expecting to be there who were not there, so I guess they're not doing both February and November. Not everybody does. So I was a little disappointed there because there were a couple people I would have liked to have gotten things from, but that's okay because there were other people that I did get things from. And the one is from Dusty Tree Soap. You've heard me talk about them before. She makes fabulous soaps, and she has a potpourri of things. No pun intended, it's not really potpourri, but things that smell really good. And she was actually vending in the same room as me this time, so it smelled good all day long. It was awesome. This time that she had bath bombs, which she has not had there before. And by the time I realized she had them, the only scent she had left was the Get Well ones, which they smell fabulous. They are, let's see, where does it say? Oh, eucalyptus, peppermint, and rosemary essential oils. They smell fantastic. So I'm not a big bath bomb person because I don't take baths a lot, but we do have like a whirlpool in the bathtub up at the mountain house, which is just a regular sized bathtub, but it's got the jets and everything. So I thought, ooh, that could be kind of nice. And I don't care if it's a Get Well scent. I can use the Get Well vibes anytime. So anyway, I did buy a package of those. And then one of the vendors who was there, and I think it might have been the first time she ever vended there. Let me grab her card so I can tell you exactly what her name is. No, don't fall. Joanna's Boutique, and it's Joanna Romanik. I'm probably butchering her name, but here's her card. Joanna. And she had a lot of fiber and hand spun yarn. And she had posted pictures on the Indie Knit and Spin board, I believe, a day or two before, showing these really awesome Teeswater locks that she had dyed in like these little mini gradients. I mean, aren't they cool? There were other ones that were purple and blue, and I really wanted those, but they were gone by the time I got over there. But I love these colors. So they're like these deep chocolatey brown into this rusty orange and into this light gold color. Oh, so pretty. I have no idea what I'll do with these yet. I may just keep them and like pet them and play with them because they're adorable. And now I have more fuzz in my face. But anyway, that's a hazard of putting fiber in your face. I did get some other fiber from her too, though. This was coiled up nicely, but it has fallen apart. Aren't these colors fantastic? I love this green. This green just makes my heart so happy. But this is BFL Tussa Silk, one of my favorite blends to spin. And it's lovely. It's this lovely variegated yarn. I can't wait to spin this. I have other things to spin first though, but anyway. I could have bought some other things from her booth, but I needed to behave. And that was it. The only other thing that I considered getting, and then I ended up not getting it, there was a vendor there called Lattes and Llamas. Maybe you've heard of them. Megan Ann Myers is the co-owner and director of design. And here's their card. I love their logo. It's so cute. With the little llama on the cover. We live for wool and bleed espresso. That's so cute. Anyway, they had a lot of really neat stuff. And I was kind of in a hurry as I was going through that end of the vendor market. So I didn't get to spend much time in their booth. But they had socks on display. Colorwork socks. One of them was a Queen Bee colorwork sock. You can find these on Ravelry, by the way, if you want to take a look. And they had kits for those. But the other sock they had there was a Sherlock inspired sock pattern. And basically what it was, I think it's called Sure Socked. It's Sherlock's wallpaper with the smiley face on it. Oh my gosh. I saw that. I'm like, do you have kits for these? And she's like, no, we don't have any of those with us, but we have them on our website. If she would have had those there, I think I probably would have just impulse bought it right then and there. As it was, she did not. And I did come home and I did go on Ravelry and I found both of those patterns, the Queen Bee pattern and the Sure Sock pattern, and I bought both of them. So I have both patterns now. When I will ever knit them, I don't know. I don't know if I'll knit them into socks or not. I may take the charting and actually knit it into a different type of garment, like a cowl or something else. I'm not huge on colorwork socks, but I can't say I wouldn't do that. But anyway, really, really fun stuff from them. So anyway, that was everything that I got at Indie Knit and Spin. Let's see, let's move on. We actually have another drawing to do here, and that is the pattern drawing for the World of Difference pattern from Jennifer Lassonde, who is Boston Jen from the Downseller Studio podcast. Let's see, I have that here somewhere. Here it is. So there's the little picture of it. It's big, long shawl. You use lots of colors, and it's very geometric. It's lovely, and she is kind enough, has kindly offered us a pattern to give away, and I did do that drawing, and let's see, I can't remember how many people we had. Let me get to that thread. Sorry. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong things here. Okay, we had 25 entries, I believe. Yes, 25 entries. First post was mine, so I did the random number generator, and the winner was post number 17, and that's Deborah. I had to look at that name several times before I got the ba part and understood it, but it's Deborah from Missouri. So Deborah, you are the winner of the World of Difference pattern. So congratulations. When you hear this, please let me know that you won, and I will connect you with Jen, who will get the pattern to you. And my prompt for this giveaway was to tell us something that makes a world of difference to you personally. And Deborah's answer was, it makes a world of difference to me when people have respect for each other. Amen, sister. I'm totally with you on that. Okay, so thank you, Deborah, for entering. Thank you for everybody for entering. If you didn't win, please go check out her pattern anyway, or all of her patterns. Jen's got several lovely patterns out, and I think you'd do well with any of those. And thank you, Jen, also for donating a copy of that pattern to one of our viewers. I have a new giveaway to mention this week, and it involves some patterns and some things that are actually going to also be up in the shop this week. So you may have heard me mention Sarah Jordan before. Sarah Jordan is a really talented designer. She is from the Pittsburgh area, and she put out a collection of patterns late last year called Stitchburg. So it's play on Pittsburgh, obviously. 8 patterns. 3 of the patterns that she did for that collection, she used my yarn. So that was very, very exciting. And I actually have kits for those 3 patterns that I had with me at Indie Knit and Spin, and the ones that did not sell, I'm going to be putting into the shop this week, so you can look for them there. But I want to show you what they are, just to give you an idea of the patterns that are in the collection. I would encourage you to go to the Ravelry page for the Stitchburg collection and look at all of them. But the ones that she did, and these are all Pittsburgh-inspired patterns. So the first 2, this is actually 2, but it's like one design, but for 2 projects. It was called the Bridgewalker Hat and Mitt pattern. So it's 2 separate patterns, but you get the hat pattern and there's a mitten pattern in the kit that I'm going to have. So that's a couple of the projects. Another one is the Inclines Ascent Cal. If you're not familiar with Pittsburgh, we have inclines that go up the face of Mount Washington on the Monongahela River. And inclines are basically like, if you don't know what an incline, I don't know. Are inclines around? I have no idea where else there are inclines. But basically they're like trolleys on these tracks that go up and down the hillside. It's a form of public transportation in Pittsburgh. And so this is basically what a trolley car, what an incline car looks like. It looks like a trolley car that just goes up this track that's on a hill. So this is the Inclines Ascent Cowl, and this is double knitting. That's very cool. She assures me that it is a very easy first double knitting pattern if you've never done double knitting before, but it's really super cool. And then the last one, which may be my favorite, but I like them all a lot. This one was inspired by Andy Warhol, who is a pop art icon. You probably have heard of him, but he started out in Pittsburgh. He's from Pittsburgh, and we have the Warhol Museum here in Pittsburgh. So this cowl is called 15 Minutes of Warmth, which that is a play on his quip that said, in the future, everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes. So this is the 15 Minutes of Warmth cowl. And this is a stranded knitting pattern done in fingering weight yarn. And there we go. So cool. And if you go to the pattern page for this, the actual bigger picture is her on this couch below this big picture of Andy Warhol on that same couch, and they're kind of in the same pose. It's a really clever picture. I love it. Anyway, those are the 3 projects that she used my yarns for. So I have kits for all of those. I do have the same colors that she used in the actual projects from the collection for everything except the Bridgewalker Hat and Mitts kits. Those both sold in the black and the gold. It's a Pittsburgh thing. But I do have them in other color combinations. So I'm going to be putting all of those into the shop this week. However, the entire collection, the Knitsburg collection with all 8 patterns in it, she has offered very kindly and very generously to give one of the entire collection away to one of our viewers. So I am going to start a thread in the 90% Knitting group, and you can enter to win the entire Stitchburg pattern. Again, there will be a prompt, and it will probably be something Pittsburgh oriented. Even if you've never been to Pittsburgh or don't know anything about Pittsburgh, it'll be easy. You'll be able to do the prompt. Yeah, and then I will draw a winner for that on the next episode. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, Sarah, for offering those. Okay. I think that's it for 90%. 10%, let's move into 10%. I did finish All Creatures Great and Small that I was listening to by James Herriot. It was so enjoyable. I really loved it. And I did download the next one in the series because I got a new Audible credit just in time to do that. So I just started that this morning, actually. So that's what I'm listening to right now. Otherwise, my 10% is mainly being taken up with work up at the Mountain House. Operation Studio has begun. I think I started mentioning this last week. We're removing trees. Bill spent the better part of this week moving a huge pile of firewood that we already had in preparation for us renting this giant machine this weekend. It's like a 40-foot man lift thing. I don't know, but we're renting that this weekend. We will have it to take limbs off way high up in these, like, I think there's 5 huge trees that we need to bring down without smashing the house. That's key. I have no idea. Taking trees down, doing the whole lumberjack thing, that is not my area of expertise. I have a chainsaw and have a pole saw, both of which I have said, here, we can use these. He's, of course, got chainsaws. So I'm offering my equipment. I'm offering my help. I will be up there all weekend doing this in the cold. It's supposed to be very cold on Saturday, but we're still doing it. So I just, whatever he tells me to do, I'll be happy to do it, but he's definitely leading this parade because I know nothing about taking down trees. I have taken down trees, but I don't know enough about trying to do what we need to do with those big trees and important obstacles in the way. So anyway, this is all preliminary work that has to be done before we can get the shed that we've ordered or that he's ordered put in, to put the stuff that's on the porch in it so that we can start transforming the porch into my studio, which will be enclosed. It won't just be an open porch. So all part of the process. Next up is going to be shop news. And I do have a lot of stuff going into the shop this week. I'm going to pause here so that I can rearrange and make sure I have everything for you that I'm going to show you. If you're not going to stick around for that, that's perfectly all right. I appreciate you watching this far. But if you do want to know about the shop news, I have a few other items to talk about. But then I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff, including some new spring colorways that are going to be going into the shop. And some other, I have 3 new colorways for a new collection of speckled yarns. So those are exciting too. So if you'd like to stick around for that, great. If not, I will see you next week and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Shop news segment. First of all, before I start showing you what's going up in the shop update tomorrow, I just want to let you know I do have another show coming up here in the Pittsburgh area at the end of April. On the 29th of April, that Saturday, I will be vending at the Rags Fiber Affair and Wool Market, which is taking place in Delmont, PA, which is right along Route 22. Well, no, actually that's on Route 66. You have to get off of 22 and get on 66. At any rate, that's a new show for me. It's actually the 3rd time the show's happening. I have been unable to vend at it the 2 prior times because I've had prior commitments that day. So I'm really excited about being a part of this show for the first time. That'll be a lot of fun. So I'll be sharing more information about that as the time draws near. But I just thought I would put that out there. So if you are in the area, you might want to, earmark that date if you want to check out a nice fiber market. Okay, shop update. There will be one tomorrow, Friday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. And there is going to be a lot in this show, or this shop update. Number 1, I have a huge bin sitting behind me that is overflowing, literally. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. Overflowing with yarn from the show inventory that I've pulled out, either because it's a show orphan or it's seasonal and won't be something I want to have in my April show, or it's just other stuff that I'm rotating out of show stock and into the shop. I do that occasionally. You rotate stock. That's what you do. So there's no way I can possibly show you all of that. So what I'm going to do, and I honestly do not know that I'm going to even have time to put all of that in the shop for tomorrow. So what I'm going to be doing with that kind of stuff is I'm going to put as much of it into the shop as I can. And then whatever's left over, I will gradually add it to the shop over the next week, hopefully in a couple of sessions, just so that you're not constantly seeing one or two things dribble drabble in there. But there's just a lot. There's way more than I expected there to be, based on what I thought I was going to be pulling out. But I had dyed a whole lot of yarn for Indy, plus what I already had in my show inventory. So that benefits you guys because there's a lot for you to choose from. I did pull out some of the things I know I will definitely put in this time. And a couple of them are the seasonal ones. So I've got some Go Green or Go Home, which this one's on Bedazzled. I believe I have some on Bounce. So that's fingering weight. I have more Snow Day. And this is probably going to be the last of the winter colorways that I'm putting in. I'm not going to be dyeing them much anymore, I don't believe. At least I don't plan to. So Snow Day, this is on Bounce. I think there's some on Bedazzled. I also think I have some Cold Snap left. Maybe one or two skeins. So if I do, those will go up in the shop. In addition to the seasonal stuff, I have some of my Pie Day colorways. So I have the original Pie Day on Bounce. I have the darker side of Pie on Heavenly. And then I think I do have a second helping of Pie as well. I didn't pull it out. But if I do have that, I'll put all three of the Pie Day colorways up. I have one skein of Mountain House Winter on Bounce. So if you want that, grab that. I may do this one more time this winter, depending on demand. I'm not sure. But I'll definitely have that skein this week. I've got some sport weight colorways. This is one of them, which is the After the Harvest colorway, the bright version. So that's a self-striping. I have a few other self-striping sports, I do believe. Also fingering weight striping. I've got some Star Trekky. I believe I have one on Bedazzled and one on Bounce. Haven't seen this one in a while, and I dyed it up for the show, so these are the leftovers of that. So if you want some Star Trekky, now's your chance to grab that. I also have some gradients. I've got some fingering weight gradients. This one's on Bedazzled, and this is the Bring Me Orchids colorway, a variant of that colorway because I added the 5th color in there. And then I've got several Mega Base gradients. So these are the bulky weight gradients. They're lovely for quick, fast projects. I've got several of those. This is the Awakening colorway in a gradient. So yeah, if you want some really fast, bulky weight in your stash to do gifts over the coming months or for Christmas next year or whatever, time to grab those. That's the tip of the iceberg, quite literally, because there's so much. I just can't show it all to you right now, or we will be here all day, and we don't want to be here all day. What I do have that I'm very excited about, in addition to these fun things, is I've got new colorways to show you that are going to be in the shop this week. The first batch is stuff that I have actually dyed for the last couple shows that I've done. I'm starting a new collection of speckled colorways. These are going to be more tonal and speckled as opposed to the Antigua collection, which were variegated and speckled. So this I'm calling the Colors of Classic Rock collection. And the first 3, there are going to be 6, possibly 7. But these are the first 3. And I've got them all on both Bounce and Bedazzled this week. This is Ruby Tuesday, which obviously that's a Rolling Stones song. So Ruby Tuesday with all the reds and the speckles. Okay. And then we've got Purple Haze. So for you Jimi Hendrix fans out there, both Bounce and Bedazzled. So again, these are variegated, they're tonal, mostly tonal, but they also still have some undyed areas in them, and then they've got the coordinating speckles to them. They're so much fun to dye, and I just love the richness of these color combinations for this collection, the way I'm doing them. Okay, so that's the first two. The third one, and I kind of struggled with this one, calling this a classic, because I feel like I remember when this came out, and classics to me are ones that came out like when I was either super young or before I was born. Well, I guess these probably didn't come. I was probably quite young when those first two songs came out. But Dirty White Boy by Foreigner, I have a hard time considering that a classic, yet I know it is because of how long it's been since it's been out. But it was the perfect song for this colorway that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something that was mostly white and neutrals, and Dirty White Boy it is. So this is Dirty White Boy. I know it's looking a little yellow in this light, but it's not at all. It's white with the neutrals of gray and charcoal and a little bit of sandy taupe in there, and then speckles of those colors as well. It actually reminds me of a snowy owl, but that doesn't fit the theme. So anyway, these are the first three colorways in the Colors of Classic Rock collection. So I will be adding more to those in the coming weeks, but these are the ones I've got this week. Okay, lastly, I have some new spring colorways that I want to introduce to you this week, and I am super excited about these. Oh, I need to grab something. Hang on. Okay, this is going to be a little bit awkward because it's big, but I have these two colorways, and they are related. I don't know if you'll be able to see that super well. The light is sort of blowing them both out. However, can you guess what they're inspired by? Peeps in blue and green and pink and of course yellow. I hate eating Peeps. They're way too sweet for me, but I love the colors, and I always used to buy them for my kids' Easter baskets, even though nobody ever ate them. But they're just so darn cute, and I love the colors. So we have electric Peeps. I did bright pink, blue, green, and yellow for these stripes. This is self-striping in those four colors. So we've got electric Peeps self-striping in the bold colors, and then we have got electric Peeps in the speckled striping. So this is akin to Snow Day and Go Green or Go Home and Sweetness, all those colorways that I've been doing with the speckled stripes. And that's what I had to, oopsie, steal the needles from my one sock this morning for, so I could start knitting up my sample. I just love these bright little speckles. They're so much fun. Okay, I got to get rid of this light because it's really blowing things out here. Hang on. That's better. Okay, so again, it's a two-striper, the white stripe, and then the fun pops of the bright electric Peep colors. So anyway, I'm super excited about this. I just love these colors, and it's so much fun to put them together. So these are my first two of three new spring colorways. The third one I do not have this week. I'll have that in the next update though. So hang tight for that. Okay, so that's what's going into the shop, as well as what I talked about actually at the beginning, or not at the beginning, but at the end of the main segment of the show, is the three kits by Sarah Jordan. These were leftovers from the show, but I'm also just putting them in the shop because I think they're awesome. So you will get the kits, you'll get the yarn, which consists of, oops, I shouldn't be showing you like pattern codes. I don't think you could really read that. But anyway, the Bridgewalker Hat and Mitt Kit, the Inclines Ascent Cowl Kit, and the 15 Minutes of Warmth Cowl Kit. These will come with the pattern codes, as well as full skeins of yarn to do these things. So those will be in there. That's everything for this week. However, I want to give you a heads up about next week. I will not be doing a regular update next Friday on 3/10, but I will be doing a pre-order update on the 10th of March. Sarah Jordan, and I have come together to do a collaboration set. She has designed an amazing color work project. And I designed the colorways for that project. And I'm going to put in a quick little sneak peek photo right here. That gives you an idea of what those colorways and the pattern look like. When I do the podcast next week, I will definitely give you all the lowdown on that particular collaboration set and all the information about the update. There will be a limited number of those sets available. There will be 20, 10 in each of the color combinations. So I just wanted to give you the heads up about that because I'm super excited about that. Sarah's been wonderful to work with, and I've really enjoyed being a part of this project with her. So that's just a heads up. But anyway, yes, this week's update is all the stuff I just showed you, plus much, much more that's in this bin behind me. And that's tomorrow, the 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. All right, I feel like this has been all over the place, and I have had several crazy interruptions today that I never have usually. So I'm gonna go now and try to piece this together into a viable podcast recording, and we will take it from there. So have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.